we continue to consider various career paths in international affairs. So today we're going to talk a little bit about international law. Joining me is Professor Evelyn Aswad. She's the Kaiser Chair in International Law at the University of Oklahoma. Thank you for joining me today, Professor Aswad.
Thank you for having me.
So for students who are interested in international law as a career path, what should they be thinking about? Where can they begin?
I would start by looking at where you might end up if you were to get the job of your dreams. So you would probably end up in one of four places. One would be the federal government, like the State Department, negotiating all kinds of international agreements on human rights issues, environmental issues, weapons of mass destruction, or other federal agencies that aren't as well known for international law, but who also do great work. The Patent and Trademark Office has a group of attorneys negotiating international intellectual property agreements. The Defense Department has lawyers doing law of war. The Treasury Department has lawyers doing international tax treaties. So one type of place you might end up is the federal government. So I'd say to students, you'd want to try to do an internship in one of those organizations to see if you like working in that type of environment, if that's interesting to you. But you could also end up as an international lawyer in an international organization like the United Nations or the Organization of American States, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Try to see if you can get a job working in one of those legal offices to see if you'd like that. My other advice would be to try out a non-governmental organization. They do a lot of interesting international law work and provide a great source for internships as well. So my advice to anyone who's an undergrad is try to see if you'd like working in that type of organization.
So obviously, to become a practitioner of international law, you would need to go to law school at some point in time, so postgraduate work would be expected. But at the undergraduate level, is there any particular discipline or any type of background, or what are the kinds of studies that students should focus on as an undergraduate?
In my experience, students have come from all kinds of backgrounds. There tend to be many more students who study some kind of international relations program, but really anyone. I've worked with lawyers, international lawyers who are engineers or chemists, so really anything can get you there.
So along those lines then, what are some of the skills that students perhaps need to develop? Writing skills, communication skills, are there certain things that students should focus on in terms of really focusing on, establishing solid ability in a certain area, whether it's substantive or, writing, communication, just being able to speak in front of a crowd or what have you?
Right. Generally, I tell students, get solid domestic legal credentials. And just by going to law school, as you're saying, and getting very solid, a solid curriculum that's diverse, that goes through a bunch of different topics. Don't just take international law, because no matter what, as an international lawyer, you will first generally be a domestic lawyer. You will always be practicing law on two levels, the international level and the domestic level. So getting very solid domestic credentials is important, which means not just going to law school, but serving on a journal to increase your writing skills and your legal analysis skills, doing moot court to improve your oral advocacy skills, and after law school, hopefully working for a federal or state judge to see how courts work. So just getting all those domestic legal credentials lined up is very important before you go to the international level.
So you have been a practitioner of international law for some time. What are some of the benefits, do you think, of choosing international law as a career path?
I think to be happy as a lawyer, you have to love the underlying facts that you're working with. And I had a big passion for international affairs. So I love international affairs. I could read about it all day. So for me to do legal work regarding international affairs, wasn't like a job, it was like a passion. So you have to make sure you enjoy the underlying subject matter. So I would say that's the first criteria for students to look at.
So is there any other advice you would give to students if they're pursuing a career in international law, or if they're thinking perhaps about studying law or going to law school or entering the legal sphere as a career path?
I definitely tell everyone, go out and get the internships. Get out of school in the summer, and if your school allows for credit during the fall or spring semester, go try out all these places just to make sure you're happy. And even discovering you're not happy in one type of international law job doesn't mean you wouldn't be happy in another type, but at least you discover at a young age. So I say get outside the classroom and try it out.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Aswad, for sharing this wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So students, if you're interested in a career in international law, check out the American Society for International Law website at asil.org for more information.